So let me welcome you first, ladies and gentlemen. We have this great honor to open the second session, the afternoon session of the first day of the conference about defining architectural space, avant-garde architecture. Our afternoon session will now include three lectures will be opened by Professor Katarzyna Słuchocka, by Professor Bruno Messina and Professor Giurkowicz. So now let me give the floor to Professor Messina, who will be making the announcement.
Nie ma co mówić. Tytuł jest na ekranie. Prosimy o wystąpienie, pani profesor.
Mention where the title is on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. And thank you very much for allowing to be here. So we can exchange our opinions, we can learn a lot. So today I wanted to talk about the contemporary times, about modernity. So the civilizational machine gives us the rate of delivery of the tasks, and this way we can reduce
tym samym automatycznie zaczynamy percypować szybciej i krócej. Oczekujemy też intensywności sygnału. Coś, co jest mierne i małe,
something which is small and measurable is insufficient. Do we truly need the growing strength of the message? Do we live in the epoch of the shock architecture, which is omnipresent and escalates? Whether the Bilbao effect still play a role as a socio-economic and cultural phenomenon?
Postawione pytania prowadzić mają do znalezienia właściwej drogi identyfikacji przestrzeni architektonicznej. Jednak kolejne pytania. Co oznacza sformułowanie właściwa identyfikacja przestrzeni? Czy jest to w ogóle możliwe obiektywne kształtowanie opinii na temat architektury? Jak ustalać kryteria? Jak poruszać się w bogactwie różnorodności? Podczas gdy swoboda wyrażenia myśli i wolność wypowiedzi
freedom of expression encourages designers to make more creative articulations.
Dążenie do poszukiwania nowych dróg ekspresji architektonicznej pociąga za sobą potrzebę konieczności poszukiwania nowego języka do opisu architektury oraz narzędzi do jej rozpoznawania. Tym samym klasyfikacji oraz systematyzowania. Możliwości techniczne, materiałowe i inżynieryjne pozwalają na łączenie wielu capabilities.
Allow for combining areas that have not been connected so far.
granice, dotąd często uznawane za święte. Funkcja budynku wchodzi na plan dalszy. Piękno przestaje być obiektywne. Swoją książkę Tom Dickow rozpoczyna pytaniem, co właściwie sprawiło, że ostatecznie straciłem cierpliwość i wskazuje na wpis dziennikarski. Zaprojektowany przez Brytyjczyków
British design skyscraper looks like big pants, the angry Chinese say.
Właśnie tak,
That's right, pants. Enormous pants. It is significant that the author, shocked by the comments and actual associations with underwear, the author begins his book with the mention of this building. What's important? It's important that individual forms of architecture they become visible, they strike against the background.
Coraz więcej swobodnych
The number of free interpretations is growing. Architects, in their concepts, they abandon their attachment to the context, while their materialized around the world personal visions gain followers and haters. Architecture becomes loud and the talk of the moment, and many talk about architecture. So is it about fashion? Is it about fame?
jest
So it's the
obecny
shock
w
and
mediach.
show which is ever present
Trudno
in the mass
oczywiście
media.
generalizować, ale
Well,
nie sposób
obviously,
nie
it
zauważyć,
is
że w
difficult
obecnej
to
ekspresji
generalize, but it's
artykulacji form
impossible not
architektonicznych
to
istnieją
notice
wprawdzie
the
duże
omnipresent
niebezpieczeństwo,
expression of the articulation of
że
architectural
podnoszący się
forms.
poziom tej głośności i jej
There is
masowość
a great danger that
przerodzi
the
się w
rising
krzyk,
level of
co
this
implikować
loudness
będzie
and
jednocześnie
massiveness will
potrzebę
turn
ciszy.
into a scream,
Być może
which will
właśnie
imply the
jesteśmy
need for
świadkami
silence. Perhaps we're
w tym momencie
witnessing an upheaval
przewrotu
in
w myśleniu
thinking
o
about
architekturze.
architecture.
Być może
Perhaps we're
zmęczeni i
tired and
przebodźcowani,
excited to
raczyć się
indulge
zechcemy
in non-flashy, simple
niekrzyklivými
forms,
formami, prostymi, tak jak ponadczasowy
such as
modernizm czy
timeless
spokojny
modernism
neoklasycyzm.
or peaceful
Zakłada się, że
neoclassicism.
architektura ma spełniać oczekiwania
It is
odbiorców.
assumed that architecture
bowiem
is
sztuką
to
użytkową.
meet
Trwałość,
expectations of its
użyteczność i piękno jakże wszystkim nam
users.
znane.
It is about the
Architekt i odbiorca to
beauty,
jednak
the
dwa skrajne bieguny,
utility.
które mogą
But
się pokrywać, ale
architect
też nie
and
muszą.
the user, these are two
Na
polars
temat,
which
na
may
temat architektury
overlay.
pisał w swoich opracowaniach Bruno Taut,
And
nawiązując
this
do,
is what
do
Bruno
natury i
Taut
do tego, że
wrote
architektura
about
nowoczesna ma być jak
architecture.
najbardziej
He was
zbliżona
referring
do
to
natury i do
nature.
krajobrazu.
He
I
spoke
czy rzeczywiście spotkał
about
się z aprobatą?
the
Czy
aesthetics
wszyscy-
of architecture.
wszystkim i on mógł zadowolić wszystkich?
So what about satisfying
Skupiając się na
everyone?
odbiorze
So when
architektury przez
focusing
pryzmat
on the
komfortu
reception of
użytkowania,
architecture
ergonomii
through the
i
prism of
formy, pojawia się czynnik
using
ryzyka, który
and
ponosi
ergonomics, there
potencjalny
is this
użytkownik
risk
danej
factor
przestrzeni.
borne by a
Jest nim
potential
powierzenie
user of
estetycznych
space.
zapatrywań w ręce projektanta.
So it is about
Może się
entrusting the
zdarzyć przecież, że
designer
marzenia
with
i oferta,
creative
choćby nie
expectations.
wiadomo
It
jak
might be
wydawała
as
się
well.
komfortową i ekstrawagancką, nie będą
The
w stanie ze
dreams
sobą
and offer,
współżyć.
even if very comfortable,
I siedząc
will not be
wygodnie
able to
dostosowanym
resonate with each
gabarytami
other, and
wymarzonym
while sitting on an
fotelu w
armchair
naszym
adapted to the
apartamencie,
dimensions
mieszkaniu,
to
domu,
our
obserwować będziemy
apartment or
zgrzyt
house,
form,
will have
czy krzyk barw
to observe the
nieskrajnych
clash
personalnie
of forms
obiektu za
or the
oknem,
scream of
zamiast
colors that are
delikatnie
personally
starających się chmur
indigestible.
po niebie. I tu pojawiają się aspekty
And
mody,
here,
tendencji
there are the
stylistycznych,
aspects of
które
fashion,
wypada
stylistic
poważać,
trends that should be
często wbrew
respected.
sobie. Bywa, że
against
łamiąc swoje
our
przekonania jesteśmy w stanie
intention.
zaakceptować
Unless
to, co
we
nie do
are
końca nam
able
jednak
to
odpowiada,
accept which
a
do
często
not
nawet wydaje nam się, że
entirely
jesteśmy z
like,
tego dumni.
and often we
Czy kieruje nami poczucie
might think we're
niepewności
proud of
i
it,
strach przed
or we
okazaniem się
perhaps
ignorancką,
feel
ignorantem?
insecure and
Istotna
afraid
jest
of
także przesłanka czasu w tym wszystkim, który to po pierwsze
becoming
często
or
zmienia
feeling
stanowisko
ignorant.
postrzegania,
There is
ale i
also the
czasu
premise of
rozumianego
time,
także
which
jako epoka
first
ze
of
swoimi
all often
trendami
changes the position of
i
perception,
popularnościami
but
nastawionymi
also of time which
każdorazowo
understood
na
as
nieco
an
odmienne
epoch,
typy
with
form
its
i
trends
rodzajów
and
pożądanych
popularities
przestrzeni.
oriented each time towards
Kolejnym
slightly
istotnym
different types
elementem
of
jest
form with the
nostalgia,
types of space one wants.
skłaniająca do
Then we have
powrotów, czy do
nostalgia,
płynności i powtarzalności.
which brings along
Charakterystycznych cech stylów w
comebacks, the
architekturze i
smooth
sztuce.
repetition of the characteristic features
jednak
of
powodować
styles in
potrzebę
architecture.
wyciszenia. Nadmierny
Satisfaction
spokój
creates a need
generuje
for
potrzebę
silence.
wzmacniania
Excessive
bodźców.
quietness or calmness generates the
Często
need
spotykamy
to
się ze
strengthen the
sprzecznością
stimuli.
pomiędzy ideą
We
projektantów a
often
oczekiwaniami
see the
społeczności,
contradiction
dla której
between
projektuje się konkretnej
the
przestrzeni.
expectations
Nawet jeśli one zaspokajają
and
gusta architektów,
creation,
nie muszą
even if
trafiać
they
marzenia
meet
o własnej przestrzeni.
the taste of
Przytoczę
architects,
wypowiedź Justyny Szwoszewskiej z
if they
monografii
satisfy
Architektury.
architect taste, they do
kobiety
not have to
zaprojektują
fulfill
lepsze miasto,
dreams about
głoszącą.
one's
Mam
own
wrażenie,
space. In the same
wszystko
study,
jest teraz
Justyna
na pokaz.
Słuchocka,
A współczesna
who
architektura
wrote about
jest taka
women designing new cities,
Kwestia ta
she
budzi
said
oczywiście
that I
refleksję
have the
nad
impression that
miejscem
everything is
zwykłego
now for
człowieka
show and
w świecie
contemporary
kreacji
architecture is
architektonicznej.
so
Miejscem
desocialized.
rozumianym dwojako, jako
So that
behawioralne
inspires
zjawisko,
reflection on
ale
the
i
place
jako
of the
duchowe
common man
uczestnictwo,
in the world
czyli
of
przestrzeń architecture.
architecture.
i emocji.
A place understood in two
Jak
ways, as a
rysują się
behavioral
zatem
phenomenon, but also
zależności
a spiritual participation,
czynnikami
place, space, and
zewnętrznymi,
emotions.
a jakością
So we have that
percepcji,
relationship between
przestrzeni,
external factors,
której
spatial
doświadczamy.
factors, and the
Pierwszy
quality of
aspekt,
space.
czyli kwestia
So the
swobodnego
first
wyboru, czy
aspect is
wynajmowania
the free
miejsca,
choice or
miejsca do
even
życia, bywa
change
często
of
utrudniona
time for
ze
living.
względu na pochodzenie,
That may be
korzenie,
difficult
rodzina,
because
przede
of
wszystkim związki z
origins,
majątkami, które
roots,
człowiek
and
posiada i
then
gromadzi na pamięć.
relation
Często
to
trudno
the
się z nimi
property that men has for years, and it's quite difficult to part sometimes. Then we have responses, sensoric choice. So we have also technical development, which raises the level of perception of stimuli that change the way of one perception. Similarly to a speeding train, when the image outside the window blends into one continuous show, which is usually homogeneous and boring. And we can be drawn to the extremity of form, color, and size. And in this sense, the world is recorded by interruption of monotony, interruption of the phenomenon that seems to speed towards tiredness. And similarly, things happen in the world of architecture. The architecture that stands out loses its local identity. So the internet is the ticket. As Jan Cudzik says, owing to new technologies, we can be following the increasingly free flow of thoughts and ideas, which brings about these connections. The architecture, which should be different, loses its local identity. Its users have this idea that when once we're here, they can be everywhere. That when we can get a scrap of a different, better world. Theatrical visions of artistic work catch up with us, often surprising us with their character and piece of creation. So we have these theatrical concepts of new works. Well, that changes the border of adaptability. So we need imagination, openness, and holistic creation method, and conviction that owing to advanced technologies, even the boldest deliveries are possible. Dreams prompt us in our direction of operation towards avant-garde eternal design concept. So what should be done to leave avant-garde at the avant-garde level so that the different language can be surprising and meets and fulfills its basic functions. When immersed into digital reality, we get used to unrealistic, impossible images and views. But then it opens up our imagination. So in this context, it is very difficult to satisfy a new imagination which strives for new impressions. So I wanted to present to you an attempt to assess on the basis of comparative analysis of selected sketches. So when looking at the presented sketches, which are very different in terms of their delivery time, we can see the difference in the quality of presentations of the design. So we have early recordings made by Christopher Wren, or other architects. They focused on detail. They gave a certain view on the designed object or parts thereof. And drawings were to present approximated forms of future projects, but the concept, the design itself was focused on the engineering, on perfecting the structure, and that was important when expressing the drawings. So absolutely, nowadays, we care about security, but the difference is that because of technological advancement, architects received a very different set of tools that allow them for different use of construction materials. This way, they have access to unimaginable few centuries ago concepts, opportunities, and options. So that is a strong foundation which creates the awareness and the capacity to create.
Współczesny architekt wie,
A modern architect is aware of the fact that they can do more, and also the receiver, the user of the architecture has higher expectations. However, not always that willingness, that intention is fully satisfactory. Modern architect is very modest in presentation of their vision, giving fields to interpretation. And what is important here, they have the time
do projektowanej idei
for interpretation. So this is the initial form, and a lot can be added here, or a lot can be removed from this design, while without detriment to the very concept of the sketch. A lot can be analyzed. Perhaps in the future we'll look at more primitive, more original records. On the left we have a sketch done by a child. On the right-hand side, a sketch done by a professional architect. Then there were sketches dating back to the 19th century, and they did not give the freedom for interpretation. So these objects represented quite composed, predictable quarters of cities. Modern sketches that give the recording of observations made by different techniques, often mixed techniques and digital drawing. This is concept of playing with the line. This is a contemporary business card of architecture. It may also be presented as a joke, as here on the sketch. And here we have this full of expression preliminary sketches. These are aesthetic notes of often crazy visions materialize in the arena of our lives at a pace as fast as its own force. Daniel Libeskind also said architecture starts with a sketch. Many projects start with an idea that seems impossible, and yet it is built into a building. One may ask a question: if contemporary sketches give a realistic picture of the architecture, can we expect the architecture to be useful and meet its purpose when it's being beautiful? So it's about paving the way towards spectacular impressions. After such exciting promises, it would be disappointing to have a building of static composition. Daniel Libeskind also said architecture starts with a sketch. Many projects start with an idea that seems impossible, and yet it is built into a building. A building is made of a drawing, not building materials, which are brought into the side and trying to get some effect. And the recipient, thought by experience, each time believes that it will be fine, moved by, or it gets used to the fact that it's not as expected. As a consequence, moved by the admiration for beauty or the lack of comfort, and thus the uselessness of a form, we endure with the architecture designed for us and implemented for us. We organize trips, take photos in its vicinity, visit it, feeling famous like it is. And we are happy by its greatness. But it is immaterial whether it has good or bad reputation. It's important that it attracts, like the model Bilbao effect, successfully replicated almost all over the world. Are we still participating in the social, economic and cultural phenomenon influenced by the appearance of the extravagant museum building? Or is it a kind of aesthetic kind of traveling? Seeing the best, the latest in the farthest corners of the globe is a frequent goal. It is also worth asking the question when, and not if, we will fly into space to take a selfie with the representation of a project by a design celebrity.
nagrody makabryła roku, czy po prostu stanowić przykład architektury niespełniającej oczekiwań
So this, we might end up with an example of architecture which does not meet the expectations of users. The exemplary cube houses are an interesting spatial composition in terms of visualization. Their light yellow color catches the eye, and its diagonal arrangement of the residential forms certainly impresses the recipient. However, does the procedure of tilting the cube of a conventional corner of the house upwards and leaning it on the hexagonal pylon give a sense of stability and comfort of use? And the question is I often ask students designing architecture arises, what for? These simple words contain the essence of the goal of action. Are we going to shock someone? Do we want to shock anyone? Arouse your interest? Have we not forgotten about the human being, so important in this complex process of space creation? Dream about sculpture architecture, apart from striving to create the original, exciting form, must also include issues of function considered in many aspects. So beauty requires passion. Passion forges dead stones into drama. At the same time, there is a question, who or what is the subject? Is that the form created for a human being, or is the human being its background and filler? So contemporary strive for creation is like a dance. We have that sense of contextual expression, which is to adorn and requires admiration, globalization, and easier access to information, escalation of transfer, and a growing need for external stimuli leads to unification of architecture. We lose the idea of identity and the need for identity. We chase new, fashionable, different. Regionalism are marginalized and often replaced with a new model. Uniformity of global architecture or similar paths of delivery of architecture offer temporary feeling of appreciation.
Prawdopodobną przyczynę ciągłego dążenia
It is quite likely that we continue to strive for ideals because of
odgórnie panujące mody i
traces of depreciation and tear and wear. So the need for new impressions implies the need for everything which is around us, and there are always searches for new or newer and more modern forms. But this need for something else changes the concept and lack of anchoring in permanence and relying mostly and largely on the beauty of the space may bring about a deterioration of quality, and as a result, new objects must be created. It is as if we had white goods in the house, we do not repair our washing machines, we buy new. So fashion growing and chase after popularity. So these are factors that change architecture. So a Polish poet, Adam Mickiewicz, demanded to reach where the sight does not reach and break what the mind does not break. And it is difficult to stop indeed. After all, the architecture is ruled by creative youth, reborn from one era to another in new versions and styles. But the current pace of changes does not withstand the graceful period of even an entire criteria. So we have all these trends, and we have this diversity market, which unfortunately is expensive in terms of price of implementation, as well as emotional satisfaction and mental pace of recipient users. So, as Le Corbusier said, we move from construction to architecture when we have some lofty goal. Vanity must be avoided. Vanity as a trade is the cause of vanity of architecture. So these words should reappear on the front pages of textbooks addressed to adepts of the art of creating architecture. And they should also come as a renewable oath for each designer, so that they have their individual actual reason for self-control and verification of their position in which they're along with the design and output achievement.